Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. I have another fabulous guest with me today. We have Karin Nelson, who is a new paradigm marketing leader, Tantrika, and empowerment coach. Welcome.
Hi, Kimberly. Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
I'm so glad to have you here as well. So we're going to dive into your story and, what this all means, this inner Tantrika. And we're also going to dive in a little bit into your inner Tantrika and how that holds the keys to your best life for everyone listening and how we can use that. So let's start first with a little bit more about you. Please introduce yourself, share a little bit more about you. Let's dive in.
Great. I am someone who came from a corporate marketing background and then discovered the teachings of Tantra back in 2019. And during my own self-development journey, the philosophies really just landed with me, and I also started to kind of tune into the sort of misunderstandings around Tantra and how it's been perceived in our culture. As I started to understand a little bit more about Tantra, I totally got into how it can apply to every single aspect of our lives. That's, our family lives, our livelihoods, of course, are in the bedrooms as well, but everything is all connected, right?
Hmm.
Um, I've kind of been on my own journey recently where I left the corporate world and I achieved a coaching certification. And it has been quite a journey that I've been on trying to apply my Tantrika philosophies across all my areas of my life and in an integrated fashion so that I can achieve a much more fulfilling life for myself and in connection with others in my life as well.
Absolutely. Yes, please. And you mentioned um, there was a lot of misunderstandings about Tantra along your journey. Let's break those down. For the people who are listening, I'm sure maybe they've heard some of the same. So what were the misunderstandings?
Well, to me, I feel like Tantra feels like this exotic concept that people don't really understand. It's just not something that is typically introduced in our culture. I mean, we have different religions and whatnot, but the tantric philosophy is one of deep connection and attunement, and that isn't something I think we're proactively taught when we're young or into adulthood. So I have seen Tantra be kind of defaced and devalued and really put into this category of sexual expression, for lack of a better
Mhm.
word. And there is definitely a component because we're sexual beings and we do live out, as is true in the bedroom, is how we live our life outside the bedroom. So there is an aspect to Tantra that does tap into the potency of our life force and our sexuality. But that's just one tiny part of what Tantra really is about. So it's more about just opening people's eyes to the bigger picture of what it means to study Tantra, to become a Tantrika, or just to tap into that. And it's interesting too because Tantra is such a deep and complex study, and it's been around for thousands of years. There's classic Tantra, there's Neo Tantra, there's different types of tantric teachings, and it's one of those things where you can you can write 1,000-page books about it, or you can describe it like I do in like 3 words. To me, Tantra is really just about presence, connection, and attunement. Those 3 things capture to me what Tantra really means. And if you do apply it to sexuality, think about the most skilled lovers that you've been with. They they tend to be not distracted. They tend to be present and grounded in the moment. Their attention is focused. They're connected to not only themselves, but to you and the experience that you're creating together. So yes, there is a sexual aspect to it, but I'm just trying to make the point that it's bigger than that.
And for those who are listening, how would you break down the word attunement? What would that look like in an example for those who are listening?
Ah, yes, attunement. So, like anything else, attunement really first starts within, right? So, attuning to oneself requires connection to your inner realms, sitting with yourself, understanding your own desires. Once you start to attune to yourself, it better prepares you to attune to other people. And in my personal opinion, attunement is this life skill that would add an amazing amount of fulfillment to any person's life, because attunement allows you to fully connect with another person as well. So when you are attuning, you are basically energetically um, feeling the other person's energy commingling with your energy, and you are adjusting and operating in sort of an energetic field together. So attunement really is an energetic concept. It's very unseen. It's something you feel. It's something you feel in your body. It's something that has to do with a sensing that you develop with practice. So attunement is really first connecting to oneself and then radiating that and inviting connection with the person or people that you're with. And this is
Hmm.
useful in any situation that you could ever think of in your life. I mean, whether you're a performer and you're up on stage, attuning to your audience somewhat is a very effective way to connect with your audience. If you're doing a presentation for work, there's, understanding kind of where you're the person that you're presenting to, what's on their mind, what they're interested in, how are they feeling, how is their energy, like either
Hmm.
contributing to or detracting from the
Hmm.
overall energetic field. And with loved ones, it really allows you to be a more present and connected partner, just someone who has more connection to the love uh, that you share, and the empathy that you can have for that other person.
So good. And for those who are still like, I still don't get what attunement is, hey, that's okay. But for most of you listening, have you ever met somebody that you're like, major creep alert? I don't know what that is, but I do not want to be near that person again. Like, that's a really quick hit on attunement. It's the
Absolutely.
energetic, you're getting a hit, not safe, don't want to be here. No,
Yes,
not for me.
absolutely. And when you do feel that immediate hit like that, that is your internal alarm system, right? And that takes a little bit of practice just to get to the point where you know that it's there and you can trust it when it raises an alarm.
Yes.
So I
Because
think
most of us have the alarms going off all the time, but we don't know how to read them.
exactly. I think what I've experienced and what I know a lot of people have experienced is if you were growing up as a child to people please or to emotionally regulate everybody around you while not tuning into your own needs and desires, then you don't have that calibration to even like understand what that internal alarm system sounds like or what it feels like. So for some of us who were raised in that type of environment, we have to very intentionally connect to our inner realms and sit with ourselves and understand what does it feel like or sound like when I encounter someone who is um, activating my nervous system, whether for good or not, right? So I also was someone for a while who misunderstood or misread my own nervous system activation as attraction instead of a warning sign to stay
Oh,
away.
explain that a little bit, please. Yeah, go if you don't mind, go
So
deeper to that.
absolutely. So again, if you as a child just didn't really like, you weren't raised in a way where you were attuning to yourself, right? You weren't connecting to what it is that you desire as a person, and just trying to you know manage the people around you. um, you you sometimes you don't understand how to read your body's signals, and because if you had a caregiver or someone who had power over you that um, was not deployed in a healthy fashion, did not make you feel safe to express yourself and your own desires, you might have a little bit of a dysregulation that feels normal to your system. So as an adult, that can look like kind of, being attracted to, you know, not the greatest or not emotionally available partners, for instance. And so what can happen, I see this all the time in the dating world, and actually I do work with people in dating because it's such a great opportunity to like really get clear on what your desires are and how you connect with other people. Um, you need to be aware where you might have some blind spots and where you need to cultivate that awareness around, okay, I feel excited when this person comes around me, but what is the flavor of that excitement? Do I feel nervous? Do I feel jittery? Do I feel a pit in my stomach? Do I feel foggy? Is there something? And then starting to understand, okay, well, that doesn't mean I should move closer to this person. That means perhaps I should ask some more questions and get more curious about uh, why do I feel this way around this person? Um, what is my body telling me right now? And sometimes too, it's that sort of activation, or it can be a feeling of familiarity because you grew up in a dysfunctional situation that just became normalized, and your nervous system um, and your amygdala, your your subconscious is really there to um, help you survive, right? So if you have been through those types of situations as a child, your brain and your nervous system knows you can survive it, and in fact might continue to help like perpetuate those patterns because you survived it. And that doesn't mean it's healthy. It doesn't mean it's something you desire. In fact, you probably want to break those cycles, and you probably need someone to help you identify where those messages got a little bit tangled up and where you should be attuning more closely to your inner sense and what that means. And some of it is just really easy. It's like slow down, right? In life in general, slow down. Don't make impulsive moves because a lot of times those impulses are coming from a place that is not to your in your best interest.
Yeah, that's such a good message. I think I not I think I started getting slow down messages back in 2013. It was major slow down messages. In the beginning, I didn't listen, and then the universe broke my ankle for me and
Oh
slowed me
no!
right
So it
down,
forced you to slow down.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
many,
did
many
slow
different
down,
forces.
but
Oh,
yeah,
yeah. Many forces of slowing down have happened over the last, what, 11, almost 12
I've
years
been
now.
there. And yeah,
And it
sometimes
keeps
when
getting
we get,
slower and
yeah,
slower and slower. And it's a good thing. It's a great thing. It's like, okay, more slow, more, please.
yeah, the
I want
universe
slower.
keeps sending louder messages sometimes until you
Yep.
understand, oh, okay, got it.
Yep.
So when
Yep.
you get sick, obviously that's a great example of a more forced slow down.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And for those who are listening, you can hear probably something in my voice. Yes, I have had COVID for the last couple of weeks. So I'm just recovering again. And my voice is definitely um, a little off, but it's coming. And again, same thing. It's a message, I'm in the middle of a big part of a divorce right now, and the same message is slow down, right? Slow down. There's
It's
lots of
so
time
nourishing.
to, yeah, to take care, and that's okay. So yeah, I've been surrendering and receiving for the last few weeks from my partner. He's been taking amazing care of me while I've just been slowing down. Slowing
Beautiful.
down is so important. It's definitely something that has been speaking to me over the years, over and over and over. And every time I think it gets slower, a couple of months in, I'm like, oh, I want more slow, more slower.
Mm.
Right? It's this. getting back to nature, settling in, feeling. And that has just come with my own Tantra journey, right? Of really deepening and connecting with my own body. What is my truth? What does my body want? What do I, desire? What would feel the most nourishing? Where do I want to live next? All of these things are coming into play in this transition period for me. And it's beautiful because I can trust my body. I can trust it because I've done this work, this tantrika work, this tantra work of really learning how to come home in my system and in my body and find that safety from just like what you were sharing, those old patterns from childhood, rewriting, reconnecting the things that were lost from trauma, from, growing up the way that many of us did grow up, of just relearning who we are and creating the life that we desire then from that place. It's really, really
I mean,
powerful.
that's a journey I think we all have in common, right? We grow up a certain way, and then as adults, we need to recalibrate, rewrite our story. We have to go, nobody is immune to this. This
Hmm.
is something we all, as humans on this crazy planet, we have to confront at some point. Some people avoid it for their entire life, and that's their journey. But it's so rewarding when you start to realize how much power you truly have to rewrite your own story and
Hmm.
to carve your own path if that's what you want to do. Or, I mean, you can take a more traditional path and still live a tantrika life. Absolutely. You can, it's, still, we still have free will and we still, I think it's really more, what do you desire, and differentiating what you desire from what is expected of me, or, you know,
That's a
like,
big one. What is expected of me?
yeah,
I think the first 40 years of my life, I did everything that was expected of me, right? That was, and then I spent the next 10 years disentangling all of that. And now I
right.
get to live, what is the life that I want, literally. But yeah,
So,
there is so much of what is expected, how you're expected to show up, who you're expected to be with, how many children you're expected to have, which career
right.
you're expected to have. And before we know it, I think for so many, we're in this life that we don't even know how or why we're here. We're just doing the next one foot in front of the
Yep.
other, just getting through the day.
The
But I think
motion.
yeah, very much stuck in the motions. And eventually, what I'm recognizing is so many of my clients and friends and everybody around me have just like, this isn't working anymore. Like,
Right.
this isn't satisfying. Something's missing. There has to be more because all of a sudden, you know, it's like we've gone this way,
Yeah.
really hard right when our body wanted to go straight, and we're so off the course of
Right.
what was meant for us that it just feels
Yeah.
really
And
unbalanced.
a lot of times we stay in that until something breaks
Mhm.
down, whether it's our body or if we lose the job or something happens. And it took me a long time to see these things as divine messages
Mm,
that should invite me to go deeper, and instead of reacting from fear, right? That took a maturity for me to get there. So as you know, as I was in my 20s and 30s, kind of just, yeah, kind of, it was kind of a blur a little bit, like trying to do what was expected of me. And I did not know at the time just how non-resonant that was with my system. And in order to cope, I was developing different habits that were not healthy. I was definitely far off, I think, the path that my soul craved. So
mm,
it took me getting to midlife before I really started to get more intentional, because the messages started getting louder. And finally, I started listening. Um,
mhm,
so,
mhm. Yeah, I like that you brought that in. There's many habits that we form along the way to cope
right,
with what does not feel comfortable.
exactly.
Right? And I see them in clients, I see them in past relationships, I see them in my past life, like so many different, and I'm past life, I'm talking like 15, 20 years ago, right? Like the current past life, right? There can be
Yeah,
overworking, there can be, overusing alcohol, numbing out, using
Yeah.
devices, using, television even.
Yeah.
Um, there's so many things that people are numbing out on.
Exactly.
Overspending.
And it's actually kind of, in a way, it's almost encouraged in our society because it also feeds the capitalism machine,
Yeah.
right?
It's
So,
all encouraged, all right?
yeah, so
When we
it's
first hit
mostly
COVID and
fine.
pandemic, the
Yeah,
liquor stores were open,
that's right.
right?
Yes,
The
indeed.
world is shut down, but you can have a grocery store and a liquor store.
That's right. Yes, and
Right,
also
yeah.
this addiction we have to shopping and getting that dopamine hit. And it that makes you rely sometimes on a job that's not healthy for you because you have to pay the bills from all the impulse buying you did, or it's just it all kind of you start to see how it all works together. And I'm just here to say you can break free from that. That does not need to be your reality. The power is within you to live the life that you dream of. It boils down to listening to what your soul is calling out for.
Hmm. So
And
somebody's listening and they're like, okay, yes. So what do I do? What would you
Mhm.
say the first few steps are for them to start listening and finding their way when they feel so entangled in the muck and they don't know how to get out?
Oh my gosh, I know the first steps are the hardest because it really takes building some new habits. And part of that has to do with um, being with yourself, which I know that sounds overly simplistic, but it really is a matter of you need, I think, especially when you've got a lot of things pulling on you from different directions, you absolutely just need to carve out time throughout, whether it's once or twice throughout your day, whether it's when you wake up or before you go to bed, um, to just tune into yourself. And that means carving out a space and a time where you are simply being with yourself. You can also use the opportunity as you're like starting to get used to just kind of clearing your head and tuning into your body. If it helps, ask questions. And some people would also say that it helps them to connect to guides or angels or God. I mean, that's all also very valid, but the way I see it, those are still it's still consulting your inner realms. Those are kind of still a part of you at the end of the day. So you have to find kind of what language works for you. And I found it helpful when I was first starting out to kind of go ahead when I was sitting with myself because my mind was racing. And a lot of times our minds are just overwhelmed with chatter. And if you have trouble sort of clearing that, determine sometimes being in a bath is a really like relaxing, calming place because you are absolutely alone in that space, especially if you have children or you have other things that um, are vying for your attention. And it's you can ask very specific questions. Yes, whether you're and vocalize. I like to vocalize when I'm really tuning in, and the vocalization helps make it real for me. So you might ask a question like, um, what do I need to pay attention to right now? I mean, it can be that broad or it can be a little bit more specific. And then just sort of paying attention to what comes up when you ask that. Like, what is there a sensation? And really, this is not about your mind answering it, it's about your body responding to that. And what does that feel like? And where is that? Where is it in your body? Is it in your fingers? Is it in your belly? Is it in your heart? And it's just really learning how to recognize when a sensation comes up and acknowledging it and accepting. That's really the first step. And I know, again, when you're not used to doing that, it might feel kind of daunting because I think a lot of us are just pulled in too many directions. or we're not taking full control over our own schedules and our own, time, because it belongs to our employer, it belongs to our partner, it belongs to our children. But you absolutely have to know that it's within your power to carve this time out for yourself. And as you do, it becomes more enjoyable, it becomes more pleasurable. You can start expanding your practice into more intentionally feeling pleasure in your body, and noticing the feeling of, the the chair beneath you as you sit, like noticing things and intentionally tuning into like what it feels like, what the sheets feel like on my skin, or what, the types of clothes I wear, how does that make me feel? um yeah, it's kind of like a process of building up that dialogue with yourself and your body, and starting to
Mhm.
like let your body speak and let your body feel safe. And when you actually have that, compassion for yourself and acceptance for yourself, you'll just be surprised, I think, at how it opens so many other doors in your life.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, and just this way of slowing down and connecting and making this time for yourself. You can do it in, just resting. You can do it in a morning walk. You can do it in a meditation. You can do it in breath work,
Yeah,
journaling, all of the above. And so
absolutely.
many people, I know so many moms are like, I don't have time for that. Da, 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 da. And that's the point. We need
Right.
to slow things down.
Yeah.
We are so overworked, over moved, over pulled in so many different directions that we can't tune in anymore, and there needs to be some slowdown. I actually quite enjoyed the pandemic for that alone.
Right.
I was
Absolutely.
wanting another slowdown, and there was a forced slowdown that it was like, "Ah," to my system,
Right.
right? And
Absolutely.
some people I think are noticing post now pandemic that they're ramping back up in the last year or so, and they're noticing it doesn't feel so good.
No, right?
And you have
Yeah,
to pay attention to that. It's time to pull it back and do what you can do, and you have to start small because one, you have to feel safe in doing it. You have to create the time. There's so many mixed messages going, you shouldn't be spending that time with yourself. You should be doing this, right? If catching the shoulds is very, very important.
sure.
Anytime that you are literally shoulding yourself, you are shitting
Right.
on yourself. So
Right.
catching that anytime you're like, I should be doing this, I should be doing that. Like
Right.
it's that's a really
You're right. Anytime
key
a
time.
should comes in, that's a red flag. And that's something that you need to pay attention to, because the shoulds don't come from yourself. They come from somewhere else.
They're coming from mixed messages from growing up, from society. They're not true
Mhm.
to you. So that's another way to break it down, um, and just starting to find that rhythm again that
Right.
feels
Yeah.
attuned to
That's,
you. Back to the tuned word, right? But
yeah.
really, it's about
My favorite
connecting.
word, by
It's
the
about
way.
connect. Is
Yeah.
it? It
Yeah.
is about connecting. It is about living in the moment. It is about really becoming present, and approving and welcoming and loving all parts of ourselves and then spreading that to others. So there's so much that is possible living this tantric life and living and breathing this in your business, in your parenting, in your
Yeah.
friending, in your relationships, all of it. There's so many different ways of just infusing one tendril at a time into your life and creating the life that you love and desire. And that's exactly it. So many people are like, okay, I know what I want, but there's no way I'm not going to get that. Well, no, let's break it down. There's
Yeah.
ways to break it down. And then
Yeah.
there's so many people before that that have no clue what they need and desire because they've never been asked.
Exactly.
And they actually have been taught that their needs and desires don't matter. So
Yep.
before we even get to finding your needs and desires, it may
Right.
be actually identifying that your needs and desires do matter
You're right.
and
It's like
finding
it's almost,
safety there.
there's a deeper root to every single thing, as you were just mentioning, right? So if you feel like your dating life is a disaster, for instance, well, as you really dig deeper into that, do you feel worthy? And if you don't feel worthy of having a loving partner, where does that come from? And it's like you can always find something deeper to work on. And I find there's a lot of coaches and stuff out there too, selling programs that are either, going to help you become more abundant or help you attract your soulmate or this or that. But I think at the end of the day, it's all very empty and superficial unless we've connected more deeply with ourselves and what do we truly want. Because a lot of times there's something sitting in there that just is looking for acknowledgement, acceptance, and maybe even a release, or something that is an old program that you're running that just isn't relevant anymore. And once you find those things down deep at the root, the rest of your life kind of just falls into place regardless of what it is. So
Yeah.
yeah, for me personally, the Band-Aid approach never worked. I always really got a lot of value from working with mentors and coaches who worked with me on just deep inner attunement. Once I do that, I don't I don't need the abundance and the manifestation workshop and the this and the that, honestly, because
Yeah, I like that the Band-Aid approach because I think for the first, 40 years of my life, I lived with the Band-Aid approach, right? It's like, what's the next best thing that's gonna make me happy? Maybe I need to join this gym. Maybe I need to
yeah,
go on this diet. Maybe I need to, whatever it was all these quick
yeah.
fixes, Band-Aids that I was looking to make myself happy, and none of
And
those.
sometimes it works for a minute or two or three, and sometimes it gives you an illusion that you've changed
It's
or
the
fixed
illusion.
something. But you always get down to brass tacks at some point that there's something else driving that needs to be addressed. And
Yeah.
so I mean, we kind of live in a culture of quick fix solutions, and you know, um, you know, we know that we live in a very capitalistic economy, and everything has like a has some sort of solution that you have to pay for, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
When honestly, if you just really start making time for yourself, you don't need to spend $300 a month maybe on these supplements or on this course. Maybe you just need to find that time for yourself. And it's not a sexy thing to say because we like quick fixes. We like like fast transformation, biohacking, all that stuff is like sounds really great. But I don't know, we're only here for a limited period of time as humans. We might as well go deeper and
Mhm.
find what's really going on there.
What's underneath, what your soul is calling for, what you're yearning for, why you're here. Because
Yeah,
it can't be to just, ugh, it can't be what I have been living, right? Like the first 40 years, it just can't be. There has to be
right.
still the more, the deep, the real satisfying relationships, the real satisfying conversations, the deep inner truth and safety that we can create and find in our body, where we know without a doubt our yeses and our nos, where we can trust ourselves, where we can create careers based on this trust, where we can do more, where we can be happier, where we can feel more peace, more freedom, all of this. And it all comes through the lens of Tantra. We can achieve
Yeah,
it all through the tantric lens of
you
learning
are
to
speaking my
apply this to our
language.
life. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
speaking.
It is
Yeah,
all possible through this. And anything less, looking back or looking around, even that's the hard part, looking around
yeah,
at other people in my circle, it can be very empty, right? It's very unsatisfying living that life. It gets to a point where there has to be something more. And it is not about getting more and doing more and
exactly.
being more. It's actually about getting quieter and smaller and coming home and really doing the inner work and learning how to relate with people at that level and creating a new circle that is just so rich and
Beautiful.
so beautiful.
Yeah.
That's what matters. That's what's important.
Ooh, even you talking about it makes me feel all nourished and
All
warm
the good
inside.
things.
Yeah.
Good. Good, good,
Yeah, it's
good.
like it's all these things are actually available to us. And but we've covered things up with so many layers of crap. And we've also kind of gotten tangled up sometimes in these interactions that aren't working. And sometimes we're in relationships that we shouldn't be in because we're too afraid or we're too attached, or there's always something. I mean, that's the human experience, but you always know you have the answers and the truth. It's inside you. You don't really need to go out and buy that next, you know, that next thing that's going to make you feel X and Y and Z, or that's going to help you make all this money, or whatever the case is. All those things aren't sustainable if they're just taken at face value like that. So, I mean, again, like if you kind of know you don't, the truth is there, it's there waiting for you to connect to it. Um, and it doesn't cost you anything. It does take a degree of attention and dedication. Um,
Slowing down, reconnecting.
but yeah, just the act of doing that is such an act of self-care, right? Your
Hmm.
body, your mind, your soul starts to respond to your attention to it, right? And when it starts to feel safe and things start arising and you can start processing, sometimes we're holding on to old emotional stuff that, we just never got around to processing.
Hmm.
How good would it feel to let that shit go, right?
Or it wasn't safe to process, right? We were
Yeah,
young, we were
that's true.
a child and 20s, teenager, whatever it may be, and it wasn't safe at the
Yeah.
time to process
And that's
because of the people
okay.
that
And
were around.
that's also
Yeah.
something you can love your body for is, okay, my body was trying to keep me safe, or my nervous
Hmm.
system was trying to keep me safe. And now I'm ready. I'm ready to release that. And literally you can just ask, what do I need to do? What should I do? There's the word should, maybe not should I do, but what can I do to come to terms with this? How can I feel this, process it, release it, whatever it needs.
Yeah. Beautiful. So please, as we come to a close here, I'd love for you to share, how can people work with you right now? Where can they find you? What's going on in your world?
I mean, I would just encourage people to follow me on Facebook or Instagram. I'm available there. I'm kind of going through a bit of I guess I would call it a personal rebrand at the moment. So my former uh, sort of identifier handle was Good Girl Gone Rogue, which is still an active thing going on. But
Love it.
I'm kind of pivoting and shifting a little bit now in my own personal development. And so I'm not feeling as resonant with that sort of definition anymore. And I'm a little bit more, I guess, tuned into my more broad, general, what I can offer all sorts of support in terms of relationships, dating, uh, recovering from corporate burnout, um, really attuning to yourself, how to do that, and I can be a very great witness for you going through your journey and whatever it is that's happening in your world. And just like we were talking about in this session, really getting to the bottom of what is it that my soul is calling for me to do right now. We can do that together. That's something that I feel very passionate about. And as I sort of reemerge and I'm starting to do, I'm outside of the corporate realm fully, which has opened my eyes to some of the areas where I was still surviving and coping myself. So we're all going through our own journey. I'm growing, and so is my coaching business, as well as my consulting career. And I'm really right now just interested in connecting with people, hearing people's stories, and yeah, just sort of spreading the Tantrika message right now.
Mm,
For those who are open to it, it's a beautiful, beautiful path.
I love it. Thank you so much. And yeah, we're going to put all of the links in the show notes as well, so you can grab them there and follow Karin. And yeah, thank you so much for coming on the show. It was lovely having you.
Kimberly, it was lovely. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Till next time, everyone.